Hey, yo. Welcome to Talk of the Town with your host, Jon Adams, on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon. I got to tell you, folks, yesterday I was a little sad because it was cold and rainy, and I know what's coming. As much as we don't think it's going to happen, I think Old Man Winter is going to hit us a little bit this year. After last year's soft winter, I think we're due, but that's okay. I'm ready for it. So the week in review. So I got to tell you guys, I don't know what's going on over at Morehead State, but that Coach Locke was going to have to get it together. You know, I mean these last minute heroics that he's pulling off over there, and his guys are. It's absolutely amazing. Geez, I almost called you JT. It is amazing, James, how these kids believe so much in themselves and that they're never out of it. You know?
They're going to put me on blood pressure medication here soon, I think.
Oh, don't do that, man. Blood pressure medicine is overrated, I can guarantee you.
Man, no, they had a whopping 7 points at the half. They had 7 points with 5 minutes to go in the third quarter. And they proceeded to score 27 in the final about 18 minutes of the game to squeak out a 3-point win over Concordia St. Paul. Just an exciting afternoon down in the Twin Cities, to say the least.
And it's, looking back on it, it's like they're not notoriously slow starters. It just seems like the game gets away from them, and then they don't take advantage of situations, and then all of a sudden it seems like, you know what, we're going to sit around to the fourth quarter. And we're going to give the fans a show. You know, even homecoming weekend, they get down there. They had 4 tries to get in the end zone, and they didn't get in. But at the same time, I still felt like they're going to mess around and win this game. And they didn't, but it's just been that type of year. I hope that they get a team that they just blow out so that you get a little rest, because we don't need you on blood pressure. Trust me, blood pressure medicine is overrated. But
they make life interesting. They spice things up for us.
I'm excited for where the program's going to go. You know, I honestly think that it's going to be one of those things where, you remember when the Bison lost to Eastern Washington in 2010?
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Yeah,
and it seemed like that was that one play. And by the way, the quarterback was in the end zone on that. Okay, just for the record. But it seemed like that play was the impetus or the catalyst to just for all of those players to say, you know what, we're never going to be robbed again. And it seemed like that's the Bison mantra should be, you're not going to rob us, we're going to take it. Because since then, you know, they went on the historic run. And by the way, I like what Polasek has done. Just hard-nosed football, fundamental tackling. There's no show to this team anymore. You know, it's like they bring their hard hats every game. It seems like they bring their hard hats, and so for me, seeing these two schools, you know, just get after it was fun. Again, sorry Concordia, I don't have a whole lot. You know, I got a friend that coaches at Concordia, Melvin Whitney, right? And at some point he's going to get on me for not knowing the Concordia stats, but you know, if he were really that invested, he would call me and give me an update, because they're not
goodness.
they're not on TV. What does he want from me?
Man, well, they're on radio. They're on WDAY radio. Yeah, so 41-7, they really put the hammer down on Hamlin over the weekend, and they're at McAllister this upcoming weekend at 1 o'clock. So,
well, congratulations, Concordia Cobbers. They put the smack down, as we like to say, on the Cobbers. So enough with the sports takes. Let's on the bigger and better stuff. Although we should mention that my Vikings dropped one. And I don't know about you, but first of all, I was worried that whole game. I mean, I was worried before the game. But what bugs me is that when you have to run the clock out, we go run, stupider pass play. and it's like, you know, I think KOC is a good coach. But when they do stuff like that at the end of the game, and if you ask any of my friends, what I say is, go play action first. You know, go play action, because the defense is going to expect you to try to run out the clock, right? And if you really think your defense can hold them and you're going to go run, pass, then why not open up your offense anyway? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all.
I've got a lot of thoughts, and I know that you want to keep things short, so I'll keep it at bay. But apparently, Matthew Stafford's the new quarterback of the Vikings.
When?
There's rumors rolling around about that.
I saw that, but Matthew Stafford isn't the Matthew Stafford that led them to the Super Bowl.
No, not at all.
No, and
he's expensive as he was when he led them to the Super Bowl. Though.
You know what?
Same dollar value.
I am perfectly happy with Sam Darnold. You know, because part of being a good quarterback is awesome play calling. And you can't always run a Jefferson choice route. You know,
it would be ideal, but yeah, he doesn't quite have the size of Randy Moss. So yeah, sometimes you gotta take a step back.
No, well, I'm glad Hawkinson is coming back. So let's get on with the show. To my left is the venerable Mr. Malik Simpson. And so as I was going, like I said, I'm done with politics. I'm done with the negativity that permeates the internet and social media. And I have a young man to my left that he works for Adams Window Cleaning. I got to know him over the summer. And he has a great story that I think people need to hear, because I think that he's going to be an asset in this community. And I've gotten to know him very well. And when I talk about community service and I talk about looking after your fellow man, this young man is going to put Fargo youth on the map in a way that's needed. And so I talk all the time about what do we have in Fargo that meets the needs of our young people. You know, we built a beautiful sports complex to the south of there, which most of our youth don't live, but it's out there, so I'll give Fargo that. But we also need community involvement, you know, because there are a lot of kids that aren't going to be able to go to that sports center. There are going to be a lot of kids that need guidance and instruction. I know that because I've worked in the schools as a coach, as a mentor. I've listened to educators talk about what's needed, and I can't wait for you guys to hear Mr. Malik or Maurice Simpson talk about his journey, because it speaks to everything that we think that can happen in our society. And I'm going to let him tell his story, but it's something where I need people to understand, you know, we all have to contribute. We all have to make sure that we're all in making this community strong. And I have Maurice on today because I think that it's amazing to me that I go and I fundraise for Dynasty, and I do a lot of different things in the community. And often people don't have time. The number of times that I've asked for donations to help people, you know, I would say that there's a good share of our Dynasty kids that come from homes that for their kids to participate in Dynasty is a stretch. And it can be taxing financially. We're getting ready to go to Ohio for a national tournament. And so that costs money. And so I, as the president of Dynasty, have to go and solicit donations. And I'm amazed at the number of people that just don't have any interest. And it's all out there. And so I get it. Nobody has to give anything that they don't see as worthwhile. But I'm amazed at how many people don't see the value in programs like this. Oh, man. Well, I guess this is a teaser. After the break, we're going to have Malik Simpson on. He's going to talk about his journey of redemption, as I call it, because he has a great story. Didn't always do things right in the beginning, but he's making a strong comeback. So at the other end of the break, we're going to talk to Mr. Maurice Simpson about his journey and the program that he's looking to start here in Fargo-Moorhead. This is Jon Adams, the talk of the town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000, or you can go studio at WDAYradionow.com. Wow. James coming in hard with the music. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you Maurice Malik Simpson.
Yes,
Out of
sir.
New York City. Like I said in the intro last segment, that I wanted to have you on because you have a program that you're trying to implement in the city of Fargo
Yes,
that
sir.
I think is going to be valuable for you. So let's start with give the people an idea of your background and how you ended up in Fargo. So let's go from background to
Okay.
Fargo.
All right. Good morning, Fargo. Good morning, radio. My name is Maurice Malik Simpson. I'm 59 years of age. I transitioned here from Dallas, Texas in December 22nd, 2023. In a brief synopsis, at 9 years old, I met my biological father for the first time that I can remember. I don't have any memories of him before that. My mom came to me when I was going on 9. I was like a month and a half of my 9th birthday. You want to see your father? You want to meet your father? I said, yes. I didn't blink. I didn't hesitate. That following week, we go outside, leave my apartment, go downstairs. I see my dad. He's smiling. I get in the car with him. I spent 4 hours with this man. I want to be clear on this. Let me get closer to the mic. In total, I spent 4 hours with this man, my biological father. And when he brought me back to my neighborhood and he dropped me back off in front of my building, he looked at me and he said, I love you, man. I looked at this man, my biological father, and I just smiled. I didn't say I love you back. I just met him. Okay? I got in the car. The following week, no phone calls from him, no follow-up, no checking on me, no nothing. The following month, now this is during the summer where school is out, when this happened. When school started back that September, the first week of September, I went to school and I became a demon. And I say that with no disrespect to the people that are believers in God. What I mean by that is that I was a different person, a different child, and I began to act out. Prior to that, I was an A student. The teachers called on me. I was always raise my hand, get up, go to the bulletin board and do assignments and answer questions, and particularly in math. I began to withdraw. And my classmates noticed it first, and then the teachers noticed it. Subsequently, I began to cut school, skip school, not go to classes. I began to, skip certain classes, and then it began to be the whole day. After the whole day, it began to be the whole week. And in that process, be clear, in the process of me not going to school, I began to meet up with other kids that cut class, skip school, and they were criminals. That process of cutting class and meeting with these kids that already was in the process of being criminals, it introduced me to crime at 9 and 10 years old. In conclusion, because of me not attending school, I wound up doing almost 28 years in the New York State Department of Corruption. Not correction, corruption. And I say that with conviction because I learned in that process of almost spending 28 years in prison, I learned 2 things. One, the school to prison pipeline, it is real. Number 2, education is very vital, very important. I wound up getting my education in the penitentiary. I got my associate's degree in 2008 in Greenhaven Correctional Facility in New York State. My minor was world religion. My major, human services. And in that process, in 1989, October, I began to be a counselor / mentor because in the prison yard, my first 6 to 9 months in the prison, I began to recognize who to stay away from and who to talk to, limiting. And I began to understand this group They're the booty bandits, meaning these are the guys that rape young inmates. I began to understand this group, they're extortion inmates that's freshly, the new inmates. And this group, they sell drugs. Let me be clear, people. And please understand this. Every crime that goes on in free society is going on behind the prison walls, state, city, local, and federal. The crimes are rape, robbery, murder, drug selling, drug use, drug addiction. Prison in our states is a society within society with its own rules. Yes, the prison has a warden and he has his staff. I'm here to tell you, those rules does not apply because in the prison walls, there are 3 types of societies. You have convicts, you have prisoners, and you have inmates, all convicted. Convicts, inmates, and prisoners, all inmates. But the distinction is this. These particular groups, they have their own rules. They have their own goals and their own fundamentals in spite of the rules and regulations that are being established or implemented from the warden on down.
That's pretty heavy. You caught me off guard. So you get out of prison, right?
Yes,
and
sir.
You got this degree.
Yes, sir.
You're moving back into society. Talk
Yes,
about
sir.
your transition and how you got started in the Cons to Don program.
Okay, so one of my, and when I say one of, I mean that literally. I don't have friends, okay? Because when I was young, anybody that I laughed with, joked with, smoked marijuana with, cut class with, hung out with, as just meeting these people, these things took place. Laughing, joking, having fun. As a child, going into my teen years, I didn't understand what friends were. I didn't know the definition of a friend. I learned the definition of a friend in my 30s. Friends, that commercial, friends don't let friends drive drunk. When I first heard that commercial, it hit me in my chest like a sledgehammer, and I almost cried because that commercial allowed me to reminisce on, okay, so damn, were you really a friend? Friends don't introduce friends to crime. Friends don't introduce friends to cutting class. Friends don't stay friends. Friends don't stay quiet and silent when their so-called friend is thinking about committing suicide. Friends don't stay quiet when their childhood friend is cutting class, doing things that are wrong. You just don't. So as an adult, I wouldn't let my friend, after we left a diner or a club or a reception or a wedding, drive drunk. I didn't understand the gravity of friendship when I was a child, but I'm not unique in and of itself in that capacity. You think because you're young, you're laughing, you're having fun with these people, they're your age group.
Right. So then when you got out, how did you get back to society? How did you get back to being, I always say, a productive member of the community?
Because I haven't been productive since I was 9.
No, but how did you get back? Because
education.
Okay.
Education. Because when I first went to the penitentiary in 1988 in the county jail, when I got sentenced and I went to the state prison, fortunately for me, a lot of young black men from my community that were already situated in the prison, they knew. Stay away from this group, deal with this. They were pro-education, pro-program. And so because that was the path they was on, I followed them. Prior to that, I was a leader. But by the grace of God, when I became a follower, I happened to follow, by the grace of God, guys that was on the right path, although they was in prison. They were following positive programming.
So it took going to prison for you to see the value of education again.
Unfortunately, yes, sir.
And I find it interesting that there are a lot of people that come out of prison with college degrees. You know, they come out with education like you did. And it's like, if you had to put a percentage of it on it, how much of the population comes out with an education where they can lead a positive existence? And James said, if you want to answer quickly, because we got to go to break here in a second.
I would say 80%.
So 80% of the people coming out of prisons actually are getting an education
While in prison.
To be productive members once they leave prison.
Yes, sir.
So when we come back, we're going to talk about the Cons to Don program and how you move that forward and going back to your community to help the youth people. Because one of the things I want to talk about is the fact that you have a program that speaks directly to your first path, which led you to prison, as well as reform and how to move forward. So if you want to call in and ask questions, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Man, can't help but to bob your head to a little Busta Rhymes. Welcome back to Talk of the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with Malik Simpson. I want to say reformed convicted felon.
Wow.
I don't even know what the title would be, but I will say this. I have Maurice on the show because I thought people need to hear the story about somebody that has been in the system and has made good. You know, so often when people come out of jail, we have preconceived notions about what they're going to be when they come out of prison. Mm-hmm. And we talked briefly before the end of the last segment that 80% of people that come out of prison actually get education, get degree, get something so that they don't end up back in prison. And there, I've met a number of people that have been through the system, and the one thing that I notice is that every one of them feels like they have a responsibility to do better and be better, and it always seems to center around how can we help kids not fall into the trap that is the pipeline to prison. And so let's talk about your journey. You had a program in New York called Cons to Dons.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk briefly about what that program was and how it affected the community.
So Cons to Dons was a concept that was created by my brother in the federal penitentiary when he was in North Carolina in the federal prison, right? When I was in New York State, and unbeknownst to me, he's creating Cons to Dons. I'm in the state, he's in the federal penitentiary. I'm in New York State, he's in North Carolina. I didn't know that he was doing similar work until 2005, right? When I found out that this is what he was doing, and I shared similar, circumstances. However, in 2013, when I was released, June 7th, 2013, it was a Friday. That Monday, I was working. And that following week, he came from North Carolina to New York, and we met up, and we talked about the Cons to Dons concept. So Cons to Dons, in a nutshell, the word con, when people that have not been to the penitentiary, non-convicted felons, hear the word ex-con and con, they automatically, it's something that's, I don't want to be bothered with that, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to get near that. Stay away from me. Mm-hmm. With the Cons to Dons program and the concept, it's tailored towards males and females. So in a brief synopsis, Cons to Dons was created in 2013 in society, in the free world. It was developed in the penitentiary. So we began to formulate the Cons to Dons concept, and we trying to take the stigma off ex-con, right? And so the Don aspect of Cons to Dons is a person, male or female, male and female, right, that have been to the penitentiary, educated him or herself. Now you're in the free society, in the free world, and you're doing the right thing. You're doing what you should have been doing before you went to prison, i.e. working, philanthropy, motivator, inspirer. You're doing something positive, but you're reaching back out to the people in the community, i.e. in the penitentiary, in the local jails that have been where you have been. So what we're trying to do is connect the dots with those people that are on the same path that we were on, to take them off that path, either before they get on the convicted status to that level where they go to prison, or while they're in prison and once they get released. So Cons to Dons, we try to reach back to the people, males and females, that are in prison and be there for them, right? Program-wise, wraparound services, mental health, substance abuse, housing, right? And be that link with them, to them, for them. So when it's to give them hope in a nutshell. If he can do it, if Maurice can do it, if Ron can do it, I can do it. If Michelle can do it, if Jane can do it, I can do it. So we try to let them know, listen, man, we did it, you can do it.
Right.
It's about effort. Mm-hmm. It's about effort. The same effort that I put into being a thug, gangster, criminal, I'm putting that effort 100% plus into reforming, first and foremost, myself. When I say reforming, it's my mentality. Because crime, gangster, is a way of thinking. It has its own vocabulary. It has its own written rules and regulations, and it's despite society's rules and regulations, it goes against everything society stands for. But the crazy thing about it is that it's not real. The laws of society, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, this is real.
Right.
In the criminal underworld, those so-called rules and regs is unreal. No one can take responsibility saying, I wrote it.
Right.
There is no history attached to it. It's fake.
So now you're taking former cons and you're helping them see that, hey, listen, you can reintroduce back into society. And so that's one part of it. In terms of reaching out to the youth and the schools and the community.
Man.
I mean, that was huge. The Cons Don program was huge in New York City.
Yes, sir.
And
I have my uniform on right now, if you can see.
Right. And well, if you could see on the Facebook, you can see it. But also within that, you had schools, you had school administrators, you had counselors that saw this as a viable program.
Yes, sir.
Talk about what you would do when you would go into the schools and who you would address, because I think it's important for people to understand that, we can all identify those problem children, I mean, within the system, it's very easy for people to point out those
within the
kids
system.
But what I'm saying is, like, even when you go into the school, okay, you go into IEP classes, a lot of those kids sit there.
Yes, sir.
But it wasn't just those kids. It was all kids because, there's always a point where you transition. Yours was 9 and 10.
Yeah.
Before you cross over into the world that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
And you also had a message for those people. And that's what I think is significant is this. I think it's great that you did work with people that were on the path, but also the I'll call it preventative maintenance that you guys did.
Exactly.
To prevent those kids from entering the system. And so with that, it's a program that you want to start here.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is the single most important reason that I'm having you on the show is because people have to understand it's like education. Right now we have a movement in society where we don't have enough people to do the trades. Kids aren't going to college like they used to.
Yep.
Now, it used to be that they used to preach, you got to go to college to get an education so you can get a job. When we know that plumbers, electricians, welders, all of these people make great money, make an honest living, but that's never been it used to be the push, but when they took the trades out of the school, things shifted.
Yeah.
So now we have a situation where in the United States, we're not going to have enough tradespeople. Well, it's the same thing with kids that get in trouble. We have to catch them at an early age. We're talking about the trades in grade school, in elementary school.
Yes, sir.
And now, when we talk about the kids that need help, as well as all kids, you're talking about going to these elementary schools and saying, hey, look, this is maybe not graphic, but hey, these are the telltale signs of if you're headed down the right path.
Yes, sir.
And the expectation, what you can expect, because, in our society, crime has been glamorized and glorified an awful lot.
Social media.
And so, we're going to get to the bullying. We're going to get to why people think the way they do.
Yes, sir.
And one thing you told me in our conversation was finding a home. Now, for you, your father in that 4-hour visit had such an impact on your life that we talked about the fact that you were searching for something. And because your father wasn't there, pretty soon you were involved with people that they pretended like they cared for you. And they gave you that acceptance and that love that you were missing from your father. But we have to understand that there are kids right now that are in that situation. And that's part of the message that you're bringing to the Fargo-Moorhead area.
Yes,
now, we have we have Youth Works. We have a lot of great, there's a lot of great programs in Fargo that are doing what you want to do. I think what makes your situation unique, and I'm laughing because I always believe if you've been there, experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
They used to have a program called Scared Straight.
I remember that. It don't work.
And
it didn't work.
I
was a
thought
failure.
it was great because they brought them in. But you know what? A lot of times when you bring people into that situation, the die is already cast for a lot of those kids,
Right.
and they're not listening. But your program is trying to catch them before they get to the system.
Yes, sir.
So talk about what that means and how you implement it.
So I'm glad you mentioned Scared Straight. So Scared Straight, as a alleged program, their success rate was 3%. Okay, you cannot get into a teenage. Let me back up. I dealt with Scared Straight in the free world,
Right.
amongst family that tried to yell at me.
Hold on 1 second. James says we're up against the break. Unfortunately, we have to pay for the program through these commercials. When we come back, we're going to talk more about being in the Scared Straight program, why it didn't work, as well as Cons to Dons and why that is an entity that worked up until COVID. This is Jon Adams. We're talking to town. If you want to call in, the phone number is 701-293-9000. Oh, I was just looking at the. Hey, welcome back to Talking the Town with Jon Adams. I'm here with Malik Simpson's Ken Blanchard. Ken Blanchard, welcome to the show. Anyway, so before we left, we were talking about the ineffectiveness of Scared Straight. What made Dons to Cons so effective? Cons to Dons so effective?
Identification.
How's that?
So identification, when I say identification, meaning that I want to first let me back up because I've been an ex-con, I'm ex-con, ex-dog, ex-gangster, ex-criminal. It doesn't mean that I'm more, prolific and, I'm better at being a counselor, mentor than a person that has not been to the penitentiary. Okay? Because I've met single fathers, in particular men, fathers, who have not been to jail, never been arrested, never been to a precinct or a court, and they are exceptional at what they do as mentors. Okay? And these guys have not been in, this wasn't a sports-based program. In New York City, you don't have, like you have in the suburbs and the outer cities that are sports-based, football, i.e. football, basketball, soccer, baseball. Mm-hmm. In New York, it's either one-on-ones, right? Mm-hmm. with the male counselor, the role model, and the mentor and the student, mm-hmm. or it's a school-based inside the school. Right. The curriculum is not sports-based. Mm-hmm. You understand? Mm-hmm. So congratulations to the cities and states that have these sports-based programs, i.e. Fargo and Moorhead.
Right.
I salute you guys, because I've spoken to a bunch of students that if it wasn't for sports, that they would have been on the way to, county jails. They would have been on their way there. So the Scared Straight program, from its inception to its dismantling, had a 3% success rate. You can't get into a child's face and yell and scream when you bring these kids into the local jails, the local prisons rather, on a school trip and a school visit, and you get in their face and scream. Because you had kids like me, I would challenge you. I don't know you. Why you in my face? Oh, you think I'm not really gangster? When I leave here, I'm gonna show you. Matter of fact, I'm not, because you can't be there, you hear about me. So you think, oh, you're not built like that, you're a sucker, you're soft.
So how's Cons the Dons different?
Cons the Dons is more about parenting.
Okay.
We don't get in these kids' faces, man.
Okay.
First of all, you're not my child. I'm married and I love my wife. Hey, Mom, I have 3 daughters, 2 granddaughters, and a grandson. My children are 32, 30, and 28, 3 girls. My grandson is 15, the oldest grandchild. My middle is 9, and the youngest granddaughter is 4. I never yelled at their mother. In over 25 years of marriage, I wanted to, on many occasions, but I had to refer back to my upbringing when I seen my mother arguing with my stepfather. You understand how that felt, hearing them arguing? I'm in my room trying to play with my toys. I was the only child. So I'm trying to play, I'm in a child's realm, and I'm hearing these adult conversations and language. And so, with that being said, Cons the Dons, it became personal because we focused on one thing, where we were as teenagers, as young adults.
Okay.
And we took the Cons the Don concept and we transitioned it into an adult concept because, like I said, at 9, I met my biological dad. Actually, I was 8. I turned 9 that December 12th. I met him this summer prior to my birthday. So the things that I went through, I had to take that, and me and my brother, and we thought about all the things we've been through as young people, and we turned it to Cons the Dons because, again, the concept was a convict. So we took cons, and we took that, and we turned it into, okay, we got education in prison, we programmed, we did the right thing, now we're home, we're working. So what can we do to assist those that are in the penitentiary and coming home? The first thing Cons the Don concept was be a role model for those that are coming out, male and female. Be a role model. So then we started trying to build a magazine where in the magazine it was annually, right? We want to feature males and females that were known, because you got people in prison that are not known. Their name don't ring, so-called ring bells. They're anonymous. So we try to feature males and females that were known in different prisons around the states and around the country and put them in the magazine, their pictures, their visit photos, their prison photos, and what they did in prison educationally to benefit themselves, right? And then when that magazine goes back into the prison, you got inmates in these different prisons. They could read these guys' stories, or this woman's story. Oh, wow, I remember her. I remember him. That's why he was programming that way.
So you're giving people a vision.
We're giving them a vision as opposed to a vocal.
So then, in the community, did you guys go into the schools?
We went into schools, probation department, group homes, county jails.
So we've got a few minutes here. So in terms of Fargo, how do you look to implement something like this in Fargo?
So in Fargo, so Fargo is a small city, a small community, right? I don't see numbers. I don't think about numbers. I think about opportunity. And when I say opportunity, it's not about me. You understand? When I first came here, December 22nd, last year, 2023, my main focus is where can I volunteer?
Okay.
I just wanted to volunteer. I didn't want to get a regular job, and I had a job lined up, but my passion is conversating with young people, sharing my story, which my cousin in Dallas, he's a minister. He said, you don't have a story, you have a testimony. He said, what you've been through from 9 years of age is a testimony. Tell it. In conclusion, right, I want to volunteer in any area where there's children, students, teenagers, young people, and just share my story with them.
Fantastic. So this is for all my listeners. If you need volunteers, you need somebody to come in the community or in your classroom or in your group or in your church and tell their story and give a message to these young people that, hey, look, there are two ways to go. You can do it the right way or the wrong way.
Yes, sir.
But also that there's light at the end of the tunnel if you have a person in your life in this situation. Like I said, Malik works for me and he does a fabulous job.
Hey.
And I wanted him on this show because this is what I talk about when Fargo is a great community. We have thousands of people in this city that do the things that Maurice has done and is doing, And I think that needs to be our focus, the fact that we have people in the community
man,
that are willing to try to move the needle forward for our young people, as well as people that maybe fell on the wrong track, that maybe didn't do things the right way. But if you have an interest, Maurice, you can call 701-293-9000 and get a hold of me. I can put you in contact with him if you want him to come and speak in public.
I'm
speak to your
available.
group or anything like
$0 for free.
and this is free. Well,
Okay.
James is playing